Joining me now is Trump administration acting CBP Commissioner Mark Morgan. Thanks for coming on the beat.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Let me start by playing for you some of the emotional testimony we've heard. I know you're familiar with some of this. This is a mother describing the death of her one-year-old daughter in U.S. custody, and she says ICE officials told her, quote, "This is a country of Americans, and we can take your daughter." Take a look.
Lastimosamente, vi morir a mi niña, lenta y muy dolorosamente, unos meses antes de su segundo cumpleaños. Ella dejó de existir.
¿Ha visto con sus propios ojos una cultura de crueldad adentro de estas facilidades?
Nos dieron una entrevista telefónicamente con los oficiales de Inmigración ICE y él me dijo con estas palabras: tú sabes que este es un país de americanos, que mi presidente es Donald Trump y que te podemos quitar a tu hija.
Is that death avoidable, and is it acceptable?
Well, of course it's not acceptable. I mean, I think we could all agree, but I do think it's avoidable. And the way it's avoidable is for Congress to do what we've been asking them to do for a very long time. It's not complicated. You address the Flores Settlement Agreement, which says we have to release kids and families in 20 days, TVPRA, which tells us that we have to let kids into this country and fix the beginning part of the asylum process. If Congress does that, then you de-incentivize and you pull and you fix the loopholes in the system.
And to make sure
you will see the numbers go down.
To make sure I understand your response, though, are you saying that that death is not the fault of the people actually in charge of the detention facility? It's the fault of the policymakers in Congress, or it's sort of no one's fault in your view?
No, see, I think that's part of the challenge. So I'm glad you're asking that question. This isn't about fault, right? This is about looking at this from a holistic approach and seeing the tragedies. Let's talk about it. I'm glad you showed it. I'm glad we're talking about it. What I'm saying, though, if Congress passes meaningful legislation to address the loopholes in our current asylum process, you will see these individuals stop making this perilous trek, stop making the cartels a multi-billion-dollar industry, stop risking their lives.
Well,
that's what I'm trying to say.
And that goes to the multiple reasons that people make this trek, as you know. I want to dig into some of the facts. It's your first time on the show, and I appreciate you coming on, and you have a big job. The president said there would be these mass raids, described as thousands of arrests. Were there mass raids, yes or no?
First of all, I don't actually call this a raid. I think words matter.
And words matter, so I'm going to get to your response. But were there mass raids as promised?
Again, these are not raids. These are targeted enforcement operations. And, you know, no one said
Let me play
about
for you.
numbers.
Let me play for you. People did say about numbers. The president tweeted about millions. Then the administration said thousands. And this is what your boss, the president, said.
It starts on Sunday, and they're going to take people out, and they're going to bring them back to their countries, or they're going to take criminals out, put them in prison.
They're absolutely going to happen. There's approximately 1 million people in this country with removal orders.
Many were taken out on Sunday. You just didn't know about it. We had many people. It was a very successful day, but you didn't see a lot of it.
So what you just said disagrees with President Trump. You're saying, in fact, there were not those mass raids.
No, that's not correct. That's not what I said. You're putting words in my mouth. So everything that you just played is absolutely correct. There are over 1 million individuals here illegally with an order of removal. ICE does this every single day. Yes, there was an operation which they do every single day that makes a step towards progress of removing people that are here illegally.
Was it in the thousands?
This is what ICE does every single day.
Was it in the thousands? I know you can hear me.
So, first of all, I'm no longer the director of ICE. So with respect to the results of the operations, ongoing operations, ICE is the best person and best position to give you those numbers.
Well, you are here because you have authority. You have authority over people's lives. You're at CBP. You used to be at ICE. You are in these meetings. So we are trying to draw information from you. And if your position is the president was wrong to claim mass raids occurred, that's important for people to know. If your position is mass raids did occur,
that's not my position. You're putting words in my mouth.
I'm not putting words in your mouth,
the opposite.
Sir, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I am cross-examining you on what you're doing with your authority. in the U.S. government. Now, let me put up the facts on those raids, and then I'll give you a chance to respond. Multiple outlets, not a lot of debate here. Despite weeks of threats, raids began with a whimper. Large-scale immigration raids failed to materialize, says the Wall Street Journal. Few signs of mass raids. No, quote, reports of mass arrests. When the President of the United States says multiple times that there are going to be these mass raids in the thousands, when you heard Mr. Cuccinelli say it is absolutely going to happen, and it did not happen, I'm leaving these facts on the screen, what is your response to that, and isn't it problematic, if not altogether misleading, for the United States to announce things repeatedly, not do them, and then the President to say, actually, they did happen?
So I disagree completely with your characterization of what was said. From a law enforcement perspective, if you can ask the president himself what he meant by any of his tweets, but from a law enforcement perspective, you will not find a single law enforcement officer or professional that referred to this as mass raids or gave you the numbers that were going to happen with this target enforcement
so the president
operation. I completely disagree with your characterization.
So he overstated it in his tweets.
No. In my opinion, if you look at the facts of what he was saying, and if you look at the facts that have been presented, when somebody says there are over a million people here with final orders of removal, that's what they're saying. No one said that as a single operation we were going to target and apprehend thousands in one operation. No one said that.
I'm going to move forward, sir, with the time we have, but I just showed the viewers who also follow the news, the president said it. He wrote it. He posted it to the internet. And then Mr. Cuccinelli, your colleague, said it was absolutely going to happen. I want to get you one more thing. As I mentioned, all the authority you have. I don't want to read to you the standards in the commission, the CBP commission that you run, Mr. Morgan, which say employees will not act in a manner which improperly takes into consideration race or national origin. I assume you would say you take that seriously and enforce it with your staff. Is that correct?
100%.
Would it be consistent or inconsistent with those standards for your staff to single out people based on race or national origin and say they should go back where they came from?
So, look, I know what you're referring to is the president's tweet. So, again, you're going to have to ask the president what he meant by his tweet.
No, sir. I'm asking you,
I can tell
with the authority you have, would you say, based on the standards, I'll put them back up on the screen. This is about you and your staff and what you're doing now and the people you're in charge of. Employees won't act in a manner which takes into consideration race or national origin. Is telling people, be they American citizens or not, to go back where they came from consistent with that or not?
If that happens, I will take a look at that and determine whether there was a violation. And if there was a violation of policy, we will aggressively investigate that.
So you would view that
you
would view that as unacceptable by your agents, and yet it's what the president is doing now in public.
Again, I knew that's where you were going, but again, you can't take something out of context.
But sir, this is not a mystery. It's not whether you know where I'm going or not.
We will put it in context and thoroughly investigate it.
But you have an obligation to the Constitution above and beyond making the president happy,
yes,
correct?
I do, and I take that obligation freely and seriously.
And final chance, though, would you say that telling someone to go back where they came from violates those standards or not?
Again, you have to take every situation in context. If that does happen by employee, we will investigate it, take it seriously, and we find a violation, as you suggested, we will absolutely impose appropriate disciplinary action.
Acting CBP Commissioner Mark Morgan, you are obviously dealing with a lot of work. You're busy. You're in the line of fire. I appreciate you taking the questions.
You bet.
Thank you, sir. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.